Nintendo Switch!
How's it going, everybody? It's Young here, and welcome to a Nintendo Switch hands-on roundup. Unfortunately, I didn't get to attend the New York event where media outlets got to get their hands on the Nintendo Switch, but I did round up information that I got from all the major media outlets and YouTubers like Kotaku, IGN, GameSpot, Eurogamer, GameXplain, CNET, you name it. I read all of them, I watched all the videos, and essentially I rounded up all the information about the hardware, what it's like to get your hands on the tablet itself, along with the Joy-Cons, the Pro Controller, the games, etc. So here's just a general summary and roundup of the Nintendo Switch hardware. Let's begin by talking about the tablet itself. It was universally agreed that the tablet itself feels very solid. Some outlets did describe it to be a little weighty and heavy, with GameSpot saying that it feels a little heavier than a 10-inch iPad. And one editor at CNET said that it almost feels like you're holding a small PC component rather than a full-on portable console. But overall, it's agreed that the console feels like it's made of really high-quality materials, with many stating that from a hardware standpoint, this might be Nintendo's highest quality console yet. So all in all, it just feels good to hold, and it doesn't feel like a nuisance to carry around, even if it is a little weighty and a little dense. The tablet screen also got a lot of compliments. In fact, there is nobody who complained about the screen itself. Just about everyone agrees that while it won't blow you away by any means compared to something like a Retina display, the screen is still very bright, very colorful, very vibrant, and the image is crisp and clear, which is very important when you're gaming on the go. This screen offers all that, so you're good to go. Also, nobody seemed to complain about the 720p resolution on the 6.2 inches screen. The screen is small enough to make 720p look quite adequate. I mean, obviously, if you look at the pixels closely, you might see a few, but if you're gaming like you would normally do, you're not gonna notice any difference, anything major. Now, when it comes to the screen size for local multiplayer, there are mixed reports. Some people say they had no trouble at all playing something like Mario Kart with split screen in tabletop mode, while others said that you might have to get up close and really hunch up for some of the games that have finer details in them. But overall, people say that the screen looks very good in person. They say it's great for single player and functional for local multiplayer. Ideally, you want to have separate Switch screens to do local multiplayer, but if you're just kinda on the go and want to just hash out some Mario Kart while on a road trip or something, it'll work. This then brings me to the Joy-Cons. A lot of people were very impressed by these little things. Universally, it is agreed that they are actually really small, with many comparing it to Apple TV's remote. However, most people do think that the Joy-Cons are surprisingly comfortable despite its size in all configurations. For example, when they're attached to the tablet itself and in portable mode, it just works. Now, GameXplain did report that it's a little harder to reach the right analog stick when Joy-Cons are attached to the tablet, because at that point, you're supporting the weight of the system and the tablet itself, so changing grips is a little more difficult, but it wasn't like a game breaker, and they did say that in every other configuration, the right analog stick was easy to reach since you didn't have to support so much weight. Another way you can play the Switch is, of course, tabletop mode, which is when you have the Joy-Cons held like a Wii Remote and nunchuck. Nobody complained about that. They all say it is quite comfortable and works surprisingly well. There are those who have expressed concern over the small size for extended gameplay sessions. There are those who've said it's a little more difficult to get a strong grip on it like you would with a Wii Remote because so much of your hand envelops around these Joy-Cons because they're so small, so it can take some time to get used to. So for some of you with bigger hands, it might take some time to get used to. But overall, nobody said that in tabletop mode, the Joy-Cons are unmanageable. Everyone seems to be pretty satisfied with what they had to experience. Now, the one area where there is some mixed reviews is when you're holding the Joy-Cons sideways to mimic an SNES controller. A lot of people say that wasn't quite as comfortable, and that's understandable. However, nobody denied that it was functional, and there are even a few reporters who said that it's actually not nearly as uncomfortable as you might think. Obviously, something like a Pro controller is more ideal, but if you want to quickly hash out some local multiplayer and you just have your Switch and the two Joy-Cons, it'll work and it's functional, and nobody denied that. So that's good. Now, as far as the Joy-Cons being docked on the grip is concerned, yeah, just about everyone said that the grip is pretty comfortable, but even then some have complained that the buttons feel a little small sometimes, and because the Joy-Cons are so small, it can feel a little cramped even with the grip setup, and it just takes some time to get used to. As for the individual input components, the buttons were all described to be nice and clicky, and aside from possibly being a little small for some people, no complaints at all. Now, GameXplain did report that using the split directional buttons on the left Joy-Con wasn't ideal. They would have preferred a standard D-pad. There's just something very strange about it. Maybe it's something you have to get used to, but for something like a fighting game, the split directional buttons is just not ideal. But for something like Zelda Breath of the Wild, where you'll be using it to change items and stuff, pretty functional there. As for the analog sticks, GameSpot described it to be similar to the Vitas in that they're quite low to the surface and eager to snap back to the middle, and GameXplain mentioned that the travel distance for the Joy-Con analog sticks isn't all that far. They didn't say it was bad, it's just that if you're planning to get some more precision aiming or something along those lines, you might want to bring a Pro controller, but for most games, they feel quite good from what most people have said. I've heard no complaints about it. And finally, for Joy-Cons, when it comes to snapping it on and off of the tablet or the grip, nobody complained. Everyone said it's super smooth, and a lot of people noted how the clicking noise that the Joy-Cons make when you put them on the tablet or on the grip is very satisfying. Just a little thing, but goes a long way, I think. The Joy-Cons also have a lot of other features. I mean, these things are packed with technology despite their size. Motion controls is one of them, and nobody complained about the responsiveness of the motion controls. They all said it works like a charm, works very well for games that support them. Then there's the HD Rumble, and that has mixed reviews. Many have said that it's not very strong and nothing too far beyond what you'd find in a regular controller or even in a smartphone, but under the right application, many have come away impressed. For example, there's this one minigame in 1-2 Switch where you have to guess the number of balls or marbles that are rolling in the controller, and you have to kind of tilt the controller and get a feel for how many there are just based on that haptic feedback. And when it comes to that demo, everyone has said they've come away impressed. So I think it really depends on application, and this marble game is one of those that really show off this feature for what it is. There are also those who have reported that for something like Mario Kart, you can actually feel some of the bumps on the road in a way that you can't with regular Rumble. But there's also like another half of the hands-on experiences that weren't all that impressed by the HD Rumble. They said it just feels like slightly weaker versions of regular Rumble. So I guess it's just one of those things that you're gonna have to try out for yourself and determine. I'm getting the feeling that it really depends on the application and the game and how well the HD Rumble is implemented. At the very least, it's universally agreed that the Rumble itself is kind of weak, and that's not all that unexpected when you consider the size of the Joy-Cons themselves. So, enough of the Joy-Cons, let's now talk about the Pro controllers. Most people have said that it feels very nice in the hands. It also features motion controls, it has that HD vibration feedback, so you can use it for all Switch games. And recent reports have said that on a full charge, this thing can go for 40 hours. So yeah, you'll seldom find yourself needing to recharge this thing. As long as you keep it hooked up before you go to sleep, you'll never run out of battery during a gameplay session, which is nice. There was one outlet, Engadget, who reported that the D-pad did feel a bit stiffer than they're used to on the Pro controller, and that the face buttons felt shallow compared to the Xbox One and PS4 controllers, but they're the only ones who have really complained. I haven't heard any complaints for anyone else. So again, it's just one of those things you're gonna have to get your hands on for yourself and determine for yourself. So that's pretty much it for the Pro controllers. And now let's talk about what it's like to transition from TV mode to portable mode and vice versa. Just about everyone has been impressed with how smooth and immediate the transition is. From TV to portable, the transition is almost instant. There's barely any wait time. Now, from portable to TV mode, it does take like 2 to 3 seconds, but if you think about it, when you set the console down on the dock, you might be on your way to pick up a Pro controller, or you might be undocking the Joy-Cons from the tablet itself and putting them on the grip, and that by itself would take 2 to 3 seconds. So it's not like those few seconds are gonna matter anyway, because you're gonna have to go back to your seat and settle down before you can get back to playing whatever game you're playing on the TV. So that small delay is almost inconsequential if you ask me. Okay, so that about sums up all of the hardware details and impressions that the various media outlets out there had to share. To conclude this video, I do want to talk about concerns that a lot of these media outlets have. One of them is that there's been multiple reports of Zelda Breath of the Wild having a few stutters in the Switch version. Nothing game-breaking, nothing that makes the game unplayable by any means or anything, nothing horrible, but a lot of websites notice this. So that's interesting. Hopefully they can work out the kinks before the game launches. There's also the concern of a very meager lineup of launch games. Everyone is impressed by the hardware itself of both the tablet, the Joy-Cons, the Pro controllers. Nobody's complaining about that, but at the end of the day, what sells a console and what makes it valuable is the games that it comes with. And right now, the launch games are Zelda Breath of the Wild, 1-2 Switch, Bomberman R, Skylanders, and Just Dance 2017. And among those, the one game that most people are going to be interested in is Zelda Breath of the Wild. And from what we have seen in terms of the games that have been announced, there's not much else between when Zelda launches on March 3rd and when Mario comes out on holiday 2017, beyond an enhanced version of Mario Kart 8 and Splatoon 2. Hopefully there are still a lot of games that they haven't announced that are going to be trickled in throughout 2017, because as it stands, there's just too few games, and it's starting to remind a lot of people of the Wii U, which is never a good thing. But we'll have to wait and see. I think Reggie has said that they haven't announced everything quite yet, so here's fingers crossed for a consistent, steady release of high-quality games. There is also some concern for the $300 price tag, because this is a console that is underpowered compared to the competition, and the competition, being more powerful and all, have SKUs that are priced at $300. So the Switch is matching the competition in price while being underpowered, which is kind of risky. I mean, yeah, there's the portable aspect of things, but the question is this hybrid nature valuable enough for people to shell out the same price as they would on an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4? And a lot of media outlets have said that this price point would be more tolerable if it wasn't for the fact that 1-2 Switch doesn't come packaged in, which should, because it's just a collection of very tech demo-y mini-games. There's also the fact that a Pro controller costs $70, a pair of Joy-Cons $80, $30 for a grip, and $90 for an extra dock. To put into perspective how expensive these accessories are, if we add up the accessories included in the $300 Switch package, $200 of that is taken up by a combination of the dock, a pair of Joy-Cons, and the grip. Going off of that logic, the tablet itself would come around a value of $100. Obviously, the tablet is worth way more than these accessories, but when put into this perspective, it makes it all the more obvious that Nintendo is vastly overpricing the accessories. I think you're better off just purchasing a second Switch package if you're planning to get an extra pair of Joy-Cons, an extra grip, and an extra dock. You'd just be paying $100 more for an extra tablet if you think about it. It's kind of ridiculous. There's a lot of concern over that, and hopefully Nintendo listens and drop those prices, because as they stand, they're way too expensive. And finally, there's a bit of concern over battery life. The range is a little too broad, 2.5 to 6.5 hours range. depending on the game that you're playing. Nintendo did say that they can expect around 3 hours playing Zelda on a full charge, but other than that, we don't really know much else. I did read another report that some of the smaller games can last between 5 to 6 hours, so we'll see. That's a matter of just getting our hands on the console itself and testing things out. I will say though, 3 hours for Zelda is both realistic and isn't nearly as bad as I think people are making it out to be. I think it'll be fine, not the most ideal, but serviceable and functional. Not to mention that since the console charges via USB Type-C, it'll be a lot easier to find chargers and cables for when you want to charge the device on the go and whatnot. So there might be solutions, and hopefully third parties and even Nintendo itself will make some kind of battery pack to further enhance the battery life of the Switch tablet. So that about concludes the Nintendo Switch hands-on Roundup impressions. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this video useful, and hopefully this will be the one video you'll need to gauge what the Switch hardware is all about, how it feels, how the Joy-Cons feel like, what the Pro Controller is like, and all that jazz. Hopefully this video was useful. Trust me, I looked through just about every major media outlet who've gone into full detail, and these are the impressions that I've come up with. Let us know in the comments below what you think about these Switch impressions. Are they swaying you towards buying the console, or are you still gonna hold off until they announce more games and until they maybe drop the price on the accessories and on the Switch itself? Is Zelda Breath of the Wild enough of an incentive for you to buy this console based on all these impressions? Drop a comment below, and to be further updated on all things Nintendo Switch, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!